Please join us in welcoming Joanne Watson. Getting God to praise. God alone is worthy to be praised. I thank you for a very wonderful, generous introduction. And I want to thank all of you who are here for this principal luncheon, celebrating the 6th annual African American Child Symposium of the African Diaspora. I want to just applaud you for being here, for embracing our culture, our heritage. It says something about your commitment to our children, to our community, to our people, that you are here in love with yourself. I just want somebody in love with themselves to teach my children. I don't know about you.
Well,
I just want somebody who knows who they are, to be connected. Not anti-anybody, but you don't have to be. Rooted in anti if you love yourself. We ought not let people define Africans who are African senators if they're somehow anti-anybody. We love Africans. And anybody who really understands history and the antiquity of African people, the ancestry of African people, you cannot love any other population unless you love Africans. Because everything started with Africans.
well,
I thought God said so, Made us from the dirt. I don't know about you, but I look just like the dirt he made us, the first man and woman from. So we praise God from whom our blessings flow. And I thank God for this man who has been sent. Like the book of Esther talks about Esther being sent for such a time as this, but I declare that the Honorable Kwame Kenyatta, the African drumbeat in this community, has been sent to the city council for such a time as this. We need a man who will stand up and have a meeting with men so they can patrol our community and protect our children and teachers and principals and family members. We need a man who is unafraid to wear African attire, African garb at a council table for a city that is 90% African. We need a man who had his hand on the establishment of African-centered instruction in these Detroit public schools. Yea, one who at one time was a vice president of the Detroit Board of Education, one who has written books on African-centered education, who has worked at the side of principals in this institution. We need a brother who has gone through the Detroit public schools, who has supported, and when it did not need support but strong advocacy, who's advocated that things be different. So I am privileged and honored to introduce the Honorable Kwame Kenyatta, and I declare to you to say everybody who calls themselves honorable is not necessarily so. Oh, come on now. I think I might do it. Honor has nothing to do with an election or a selection. It has to do with your legacy of giving, of serving, of moving beyond yourself, helping somebody other than yourself. And I want you to give a rousing applause to support our brother who has been our brother, who did not start activist work when he wanted to run for something. He was running people around my neighborhood, Dexter and Davison, and having a march against rape and violence against women. He did that years ago, before he was ever elected to the Detroit Board of Education or the Wayne County Commission or the Detroit City Council. A brother who led pilgrimages to Africa, to the motherland, who helped children get to the motherland so we can embrace who we are, know who we are, know our history, who has talked about investing in this community, who has talked about giving all that we have to the Detroit public schools where most of our children are, not looking back on our people with derision, but with support and affirmation. So I want you to give a rousing applause and affirmation to a brother who is here in this season for such a time as this, the Honorable Kwame Kenyatta. Kwame Kenyatta. Kwame Kenyatta.
thank you very much. Always in the tradition of our ancestors and our elders, I first give praise to Almighty God, thankful to God for this day and all the days that have been given to us. In that tradition, I ask permission from my elders to speak. I will be 50 years old next month. I guess I'm not a baby anymore, not a youth league member anymore. So if you're a day older than that, I ask for your permission to speak. Thank you. To the Honorable Dais, to all the distinguished doctors, I'm happy to be in the presence of all of those who are charged with the responsibility of healing the sickness within our souls and our minds on an educational level. I don't know what I can share with such a distinguished group, but I will try to share just a little bit. To Dahia Shabaka, who has been the torch carrier for some years, I want to thank her and also excuse her for inviting me. Because I don't know what I'm going to say, and she definitely don't know what I'm going to say. So don't blame her. To Dr. Juanita Clay Chambers, we want to again honor you and thank you for being on guard. And to all of you in the audience, I know you have been praised 2 or 3 times, but I want to praise you again. Because over the last 5 to 6 years, this school district has gone through turbulent times.
That's right.
We have seen CEOs and superintendents come and go.
Well,
We've seen board members come and go.
mercy.
We've seen contractors come and go.
Oh,
But you have stayed on time, on task, and on a mission. And we thank you for helping to raise our children. I am not usually invited to lunchtime presentations or dinner presentations because usually what we have to say interrupt the digestive system. But they invited me anyway. Oftentimes I ask them to install seat belts. We didn't do that this time, so even though we're going to fly at a high altitude, if you crash, you're on your own. We have come a long ways in this community, in this country, and in this nation. We didn't do libations earlier, and I want to do that now by way of words because as this is, and I believe it was proclaimed last night, African American World History Month.
well.
We have evolved from Negro History Week to Negro History Month, to Black History Month, African American History Month, to African American World History Month. We understand our global importance as we talk about the African diaspora, moving from Maafa to Maat,
So now,
creating a learning experience for self-determination. It is important, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who established this celebration, and most of us understand and know why he had to establish the celebration as he documented the miseducation of the Negro. And he talked about the most educated being the most miseducated amongst us.
come on now.
He talked about those who have been trained and enslaved in their minds don't need to be told which way to go, which back door to go to. We go on our own without being told.
Have mercy.
And if there is no back door, we demand one, we carve one for our own special interests.
My Lord.
As we look at the importance of why it was necessary to create Black History Month, and I know that you know it, I'm just going to give a refresher course. But at that particular point in time, and to some degree even now, we were told that there was nothing godly about ourselves.
My Lord.
We were told that there was something ugly about us. In fact, God didn't even like us. We were cursed.
My Lord.
That something was wrong with the natural curl that we had. I call it the natural curl. Because no matter what you do to it, diet, try it, lay it to the side, ultimately it comes right back to its original form. It's natural.
Well.
It's natural. And it comes out of that naturalness. But we were told that something was wrong with our lips and our hips.
That's right.
We were told that we had been burnt that the sun had kissed us, and that's not a bad thing.
That's right.
If the sun reached down and kissed you,
Well,
and it is understood that God's hand is on the sun and is that which is hidden behind the sun. So when it said, Amen, that which is hidden, Ra, that which is hidden behind the sun, not that it's a worship of the sun, but that which gave the sun his rays, gave the sun his light. So as you come forward, those of you who are charged with the responsibility of running those educational institutions to educate our children, to somehow or another make those institutions do what they were not designed to do. You say, what you talking about, Kenyatta? What do you mean it wasn't designed to educate? The educational institution in America was not designed to educate anyone, much less children of African descent. And so what is our charge as educators? What is your charge as educators? As we look back, as we honor those ancestors, those who gave their lives, their mind, their time, their strength, and their wealth. As we honor the original woman who they are still misidentifying her, calling her Lucy, Bangladesh, 3 million years old, they found her kind of laying around somewhere. And as I've said before, if you find the fossils of a 3 million year old African woman, there's a brother somewhere nearby. They just haven't found him yet. But he's there. And it is out of that, and it's been proven now. We don't have to whisper it in the night. We don't have to be afraid to say, I believe we created history and civilization. All of the scientists, all of those who study, we find them in Africa, at the foothill of the mountain of the moon. We find them along the Nile. We find them, they say, searching out the DNA, the fingerprint, the footprint, and now they're saying our history. Our history is what they're saying. We understood, many of us, that it was our history, and they're tracing it around the world, and they say that all civilization can be traced back to that African beginning.
that's right.
That African beginning.
Yeah.
So we no longer have to fear the Africanness in us.
That's right.
We no longer have to be ashamed of who we are and where we came from. And our children don't have to be ashamed. As I go to the museum tomorrow to talk about the unmasked exhibit, how the advertisement of black folks, we call it memorabilia now, and we have it in our home, and the big lips, the big hips, everything protruding out that made fun of us. We call it art form, but it really was not art form. Art form. It was designed to humiliate, to characterize the negative in our people. The importance of this conference, and we have gone through African Child, Placed in Crisis. Y'all got mad at Kay Lovelace and Dahlia and folks. Yes, you did. Why you got to call it African Child Placed in Crisis? Why can't you just call it Black Child Conference or Symposium?
Well,
because when you say placed in crisis, then you're placing blame. Why you got to blame somebody? Why you got to point fingers at somebody? But unless you understand how you got into a particular situation,
that's right.
who put you in that particular situation, you won't know how to get out of that situation. The African child was placed in crisis, is placed in crisis, and still is in crisis. So even though we're at the symposium level of this thing, the reality is that the crisis still exists.
That's right.
And the charge is, how brave will you be? As educators, those who are in charge of the institutions, the teachers, how brave, the administrators, the doctors. Dr. Carter G. Woodson Dr. John Henry Clark said, if you're a doctor, you must be healing something. If you're a doctor, you must be operating on something. Our children need an operation.
Yeah.
They're still placed in the lost and found department of white supremacy.
That's right.
And when we look at the state of black America, the condition is still. In fact, the Urban League came out with their report last year that we're stagnant and constantly moving further behind.
That's right.
Even though we got the best, we're the richest in the world in terms of people of African descent, with over $650 billion going through our community. That was at last check. We're the 9th largest economy in the world. Black folks in America, we have some of the resources, but at the same time, home ownership amongst black is 50% compared to more than 70% of whites. While African American mortgage denial and home improvement loan rates did improve, blacks are still denied these type of loans at twice the rate. But then we ask ourselves, where's your money? I had a meeting with Don Davis a few days ago, the owner of First Independence Bank, and usually, and I'm not going to do it today, usually I ask you to pull your checkbook out. I'm not going to do that today. But if I ask most of us to pull our checkbooks out, hold them up, open them up, where's your bank account?
That's right.
And when we can't get that loan, even though we are educators, even though we drive the best of cars and have the finest of houses, when we can't get that next mortgage from NBD, Bank One, which is called now, and others, we have to question ourselves. We reward folks
That's right.
who disrespect us.
Oh, Lord.
Inappropriate behavior.
Oh, Lord.
If we have over $19 billion in the city of Detroit, why is our poverty rate over 30%? If we are in charge, and we are, of the educational system, we're the CEO, the head person in charge. We're the school board,
Well,
the principals, the teachers, the janitors, the students. Why do we have 40% illiteracy rate? Something is wrong with the paradigm. Something is wrong with the goal and objective of educating children of African descent, and I believe that's what we're talking about today, so I can freely discuss this without being accused of being a racist in reverse or in advance. The African child wanders around, pants down, hat turned around, don't know which way he or she is going, suffering mentally and physically. I was reading Dr. Maafa this morning, and he was talking about what we have to do to take this thing to the next level. How do we reach in and move and resurrect our African selves and bury the Negro in us?
go ahead.
The Negro. And he defined the Negro not from the Spanish definition, but from the Greek definition, which means dead. Someone was saying that we were dead. They pronounced a premature autopsy and death of a people. And we have carried that all these years in our books, in our homes. We say reading is fundamental, but the only thing we have to read in the home is the TV guide. How then is reading fundamental? Bill Cosby was right. Folks got mad at him because he called it. It's not enough to just call yourself Ray Ray and Shanae and not deal with the essence of who we are and where we are and what we need to do. We can't continue to glorify that.
That's right.
Yes, someone placed us in this crisis, but trust me, they won't take us out of the crisis.
That's right.
So the reality, are we up to the mission? Are we up to the challenge? I hear the voices of Dr. John Henry Clark,
Come on now.
who say that if you're going to be in it, control it.
That's it.
If you're going to be in charge, if you're going to be the principal of the school, then control the school, run the school. Be brave enough to reach down and reach in to the hearts and minds of our babies, regardless of the criticism that you get, and educate them despite themselves and despite this system. If you are the CEO, then be the CEO. Be the superintendent. Superintendent. Be that. Challenge us to be the greatest people that we can be, because we are that. To educate means to bring out, to draw out.
That's right.
God already put it in us.
That's right.
We've shown that over history. Who has gone through 400 years of Maafa? A great devastation, the scattering of a people, the taking of your name, your culture, your identity, your history, your religion, your humanity, and left you naked in the crossroads of society. But yet you spent around, and God spent you around, and you came back to yourself. And so we've had all these great contributions in society. The real McCoy, Elijah McCoy, Garrett Morgan, every time you stop at a traffic light. Even in the midst of that slavery, you came up with inventions.
That's right.
The golf tee, the ironing board, all of that. Because there's something great about you if, in fact, you don't listen to the negative chatter. Had a lot of that this week. If you don't listen to the negative chatter of others who don't know who they are. And misery loves company. Folks who don't know where they are, they like being with other people who don't know where they are. Because you may tell them how to get to where they need to go.
That's right.
And so they like being lost.
Come on now.
They like being in that Maafa. But we're charged with the responsibility now in the 21st century, as we look out into our community. These quarters was not meant for us to stand on. We are the people who built the temples called pyramids. We are the people who created the underground cities of Luxor. We are the people, through our women, who even carried themselves as men in case you had some concerns about their equality at Shetset, Nzinga, Kohana, the Katnisi Queens. We are a people, and God is saying to us, how long?
How long?
How long? I gave you everything that you need. I even put you in America so that you can learn what real suffering is all about. So that you, African of the world, can then go and help educate and lift up and raise this poor black child. We're going to talk about that tomorrow at the museum. They used to call him gator bait. They had the child crawling away from the mouth of the alligator. And pickaninnies, buckwheat, called him everything but a child of God. But he came out of that original classroom, the womb of the woman, the original woman placed by the original seed, the man. And that child, like a sponge, looking up to you with those clear eyes, teach me, teach me. And we kill him. We deny them. We don't give them. We tell them, you can't do that. Stop, you can't do that. God told them they can do anything they want to do.
That's right.
My son once told me, my mind don't tell me that, Daddy. He said his mind didn't tell him that. Stop and kind of check that out. Because I'm from Alabama. No matter what your mind tell you, it's what I tell you. But I had to stop and check it out.
Right.
Because he was operating on a different level. He said his mind didn't tell him that.
Right.
And he was a little fella. So I had to check that out. What and where we are, when you talk about self-determination, creating a learning environment, the environment that we have lived in and immersed ourselves in is not a learned environment. It was not meant to be a learned environment. You were not brought here to be educated, to be taught. You were a slave. We don't like hearing that. What you mean? I'm a doctor, man. I wasn't no slave. Bill Johnson used to work for the Detroit News. He said once on CNN that I have been a part of our past, but it need not be a part of our future. Denial of self. Have you ever heard a German say, Germany may have been a part of my past, but it need not be a part of my future? No. That is a Willie Lynch chip activated, personified inside of us. And then we operate on automatic. But as we look at moving forward, it is very important that we change. And what this 10 years ago, maybe even right here in this building. It may have been in Cover Hall, 1987. We talked about the paradigm shift. One of y'all words. I just borrowed it. The paradigm shift of education. Not to criticize anyone else, not to deny anyone else, because that's not the kind of people we are. We give the world everything we got, and we look back and don't have anything for ourselves. So we know we're not going to deny anyone else, but the reality is, what are we going to do for ourselves? When history stops and take a look at us, will it say, because all the great ones are gone now. Dr. Coretta Scott King last week joined her husband. So many others are gone. Now it's on you. You are the great leaders of today. You are the she-ros and heroes of today. Not the Michael Jordans and the Michael Jacksons and all the P. Diddy's and all of that. It's you. Because if we do not educate this child, he will turn around and she will turn around and rape you at the door of the schoolhouse. If we do not reach inside, as Dr. Naeem Akbar was saying here, and Wade Noble says that we have got to reach our human beingness. Our human beingness. The consciousness. We have got to touch the asili, the core that Yurugu talks about. We have got to touch the seed of this child, of this human being, and turn them upright. That's right. So that they understand clearly who they are. When they walk into that schoolhouse, we talked about it in Guide to Implementing African-Centered Education, written 10 years ago. Dahir is in here, Kay Lovelace is in here, Dr. Clifford Watson, Malik Yakini, Jordan Watson, myself, and you. In here, we sold more of these books nationally than right here in this city. And the model for the book and what everybody was searching for in Pittsburgh when I went there, Kansas City when I went there, Mississippi when I went there, they were searching for the model that you approved here, that you all implemented in the social studies department, the science and math. Everybody was clamoring, and still, we get calls today. That's right. We get calls today for what you created. Formula for the books that you wrote, K through 3. Right. K through 3? Yes. And when I told Dr. Bernie, I said, we wrote books, man. Not only did we write the book, we got the royalties from the book. He said, is that right? Now here was sitting there, she said, we got the first check. You wrote those books. And other people were looking for that. But we allowed it, like we do so many times, we allow it to lay dormant, to fall, and we put it on the shelf.
That's right.
And now, consequently, as we look back, our children are not reading, not writing. They got games. I saw the special the other day, all these baggy pants. We're sagging because our mentality is in a sag. Our mentality is sagging. When your pants are not straight and not up on you, it's because something else is not up on you. And so you're saying to the world, you're showing the world how you feel. And you're showing the world your back part because the world has shown you its back part. And so you don't care. They turn the hats around the other way. They're saying, I don't know which way I'm going. Help me. Direct me. As I conclude, I'm going to keep you long. The new schoolhouse. The new schoolhouse. Dr. Malefe, and I understand he's going to be here.
Nice.
I'll leave that to him. But he'll talk about it. We talked about it 10 years ago. Every imaginable scholar in the world, black, white, came through this institution.
That's right.
The symposium, the African Child Placed in Crisis.
That's right.
Everybody, all of them had theory.
So now-
You took the theory and began to put it into practice. None of them, including Dr. Malefe, he'll tell you. They didn't have it in Philadelphia.
That's right.
He had the theory and the concept that you implemented.
That's right.
Right here. You came up with the resolution that's still operable.
That's right.
This schoolhouse, this new schoolhouse that you are now in charge of, when that child walks into that school, he should find himself, he should feel at home because he's coming from an environment that's hostile.
That's right.
The streets are hostile to him
Well,
and to her. But when they come into your school, it's clean. The walls, the colors on the walls are bright. They're not dead. If they are, you need to repaint them. You can't come into a school that's dark. We want them to see the light. We want to open this eye. We want to open the heart. When they go into the classroom welcomes them. And just as you're sitting in the round in an African Senate type perspective there, not one behind the other's back, which is how our classrooms are set up. Behind the back, behind the back, behind the back. And consequently, everything we do is behind the back. And we don't build upon the knowledge and information that the other person has. It's a straight line. The African consciousness is in the round. It's in the circle. What goes around comes around. So if you send around good information comes back around. As we open the doors of that classroom, even the custodian is part of the scenario. So you walk into the schoolhouse and the floor is so clean. You see yourself off the floor. You can eat off the floor. The secretary, not what you want. What you doing in here? No, the secretary has a smile. Open, has some love. Our children come from homes and a street and a community that show them no love, that's hostile towards them. So they get engaged in order to protect themselves, to defend themselves. And they come into the school, well, I got mine, you better get yours. And they say, well, that teacher, she don't like me. That principal, she don't like me. And they automatically, so they shut off. They don't want to answer the question anymore. Usually the hand goes up in the first and second grade, third grade. They're so anxious that after a while the hands start going down like this. And then pretty soon the hand is gone.
that's right.
And they sit there. We've lost that child. A child is gone. You are the educators. You're the ones who are in charge. We're the legislators at this point in time, and we'll work together as we unapologetically as a people do what we need to do to rescue our babies.
So now,
To have this system to do what it was not designed to do, to educate, to live, and to teach them that your role in self-determination, your role is to make this place, this world, better than you found it, better than you found it. See, because if we tell them their objective, their purpose in life is to get a good job and be like you, they say, well, you're working too hard. I can make that kind of money on the streets. Now, they don't think about the consequences of what comes with being on the street, but they'll pull out a roll and show you what they can make on the street if the objective is to get the money. Because they're smart enough to know that, okay, you want me to go to school for 4 years and then maybe another 4 years, 8 years, so that I can get a good job to do what? Get some money? No, I already got that. I can get that. And they don't look at the consequences. But if we tell them, if we show them that as a human being, your job, your role, your purpose in life is to make the world a better place and to leave it better than you found it.
That's it.
And in consequence, as a consequence of that, you will be rewarded with a great career, good house, job, car, and all of that. But to leave the world better than you found it, to make a contribution to someone else. And when we get to that level, then we create the wholeness. That's what African-centered education is about. It's about making us whole. It's not about denying any other race of people. But when you sit at this table of humanity and everyone has something in their plate, this child must have something in his or her plate as well, or they're not a diner at that table. And it doesn't deny anyone else. I am happy to be a part of this time period. This is a historical time period. This is a historical time period in the city of Detroit and in this country. And I know you say it's hard to say that because we got war going on all over the place, terrorism everywhere, poverty here, all of that. But then God challenged you to come up out of this. Can the phoenix rise? Can the dry bones live? Out of this valley of death, can they live? And if they can, it will be because of the light that you breathe into them. And I believe that we can meet that challenge. I believe that this city, more than any other in this country, I believe that God's hand has always been on this city, will continue to be on this city. But God challenged us, and I'm not the Bible scholar and all of that, but God challenged us and gave us dominion over everything because we are the original people. And so when you read Genesis 1 and 2, and you read all of the instructions, and God said, I give you everything that creep and crawl, everything that fly and swim. He was talking to you. And to you, you must have dominion over them. We, over the years, have given that up. And God has been waiting for us. And God is tired of waiting on us. We got water pushing us. We got mud pushing us. We got wind blowing us, trying to blow us and push us towards the center of where we need to be. Oh, you think that America is so great that you can't be homeless? That a whole city, a whole state can't be uprooted? You better be still and listen. You think that I can't take your child under the crooked leadership of a selected president and send them over to another country and defend what is not democracy but disguised hypocrisy? And then bring them back where they can't get justice and equality? You better be still. And so now, God's people, the challenge is on you. Now, principals, will you really be the principal? Because you are on point. Will you be on time, on task, and on a mission? Will you save our babies? Will you not tolerate folks who don't come to school prepared to educate?
That's right.
Will you not tolerate students who come to school not prepared to learn? Will you not tolerate parents who don't come to school to make sure that their children are there to learn? You say, well, you know, man, they got these unions and they took our union away. I'm just trying to get my pension and try to do what I can to get on out of here. No, God is not looking at that on you. You are charged with something greater. That's why our school system was taken away so that we could see what it is that we had. Because some of the very people who, in the end, was fighting to get this thing back said, take it. Yeah. Some of the very people who stood on the sidelines, while for 5 years we were fighting on this, now said and understand it was better under your control. It was better when you made the decision.
That's right.
Because other folks can't legislate and make the decisions that are best for you.
That's right.
And so now that you got it back, God has said, look, here, I'm giving it back to you. And folks are looking through the door right now. Okay, let me see what they're going to do with it. Let me see how they're going to handle it.
That's right.
Let's see what the new board going to do. Are they going to fuss and fight with each other? Huh? Let's see what this, we gave them the title back, superintendent. Let's see what you're going to do with it. Parents, let me see. Are you going to disrupt the board meetings? Are you going to make sure that nothing gets done? Let us see what you're going to do with it. And I think we need to upset them all.
That's right.
I think we need to upset them all. I think we need to do the greatest thing that we can do. And I think my time is up. Let us make real history. Let us build new pyramids of power. Let us not just read about what happened back in the day. Let those hundreds of years ago, when they dig up Detroit and they find the time capsule and they begin to look at your schools where you're the principal and they said, they did this. They took the minds of these students and they did that. Let that be our legacy as we move towards self-determination, moving from the Maafa to Maat. Truth, justice, balance, and order. And if we don't do it, then we get reciprocity. Thank you very much.
Too much home is given, much is expected. And you have really given us a lot to think about today. But I am very confident when I say to you that before you and around you are the heroes and the sheroes of Detroit Public Schools. Are you those people? Yes. I can truly also